allegations of abuse of power today with reports that he is preemptively offering aides pardons if they break the law. The Washington Post first broke the story, reporting that when aides warned that some of Trump's demands to build a border wall may be illegal or unworkable, he tells them to do it anyway, saying, "Don't worry, I'll pardon you." In meetings about the wall, Trump today denied the story, but when the White House was pressed about Trump pushing aides to break the law, they didn't actually deny it. Instead, they said he was just joking. We want to take a look at the legal and constitutional implications of this story, and we have the perfect guest to do it. Here for the Beat's opening argument series is former acting Solicitor General Neil Katyal, who's argued dozens of cases before the Supreme Court. Neil, great to have you with us this evening. First, I want to get your thoughts on, is just kidding a legal excuse? Is that a plausible defense that could hold up in court?
No, it's not. So first, let's just set the context here. So before talking about the pardons, think about what this is about. This is about the wall. This is about Donald Trump in 2016 campaigning on this and saying Mexico is going to pay for it. And then, of course, Mexico didn't pay for it. And then he tried to shut down the government for 35 days to try and coerce Congress to pay for it. They didn't pay for it. And then he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And that's what this Washington Post story is about the do it anyway. And his aides are saying, hey, you know, you got to have an appropriation from Congress. You can't just take this property without eminent domain restrictions and the like. And he's just saying, go ahead, do it anyway, and I'll pardon you afterwards. And the idea that, oh, he's just joking around. I mean, we don't have presidents who joke around about deeply unconstitutional things. And, you know, it'd be one thing if it was a president who was known for scrupulous adherence to the rule of law. But I think any day of the Trump administration, you see Trump defying the law. And so, you know, it's entirely believable that he wasn't just joking around, that this was actually a serious thing. And, you know, yes, it's true on TV shows like 24, Jack Bauer gets a preemptive pardon from the president. But in the American system, that the real American system, as opposed to the fictional one, that never happens.
So to that point, Neil, what kinds of legal issues does this raise, really, if Trump is pressuring aides to take actions that they think are illegal? I mean, immediately it comes to mind when you think of somebody in the battlefield being told by a commanding officer to do something, their defense tends to be, I was told by my superior. Would that hold up in a situation like this?
Well, I certainly think that, you know, the individual officers under the president who are carrying out his orders, I think it's very hard to say that they themselves should be personally liable for acting illegally. But the president himself, I think, does face consequences for this. I mean, one obvious one is the House of Representatives, it's no secret, is considering impeachment of the president for abuse of power. There is no more textbook example of abuse of power than a president who says to his subordinates, break the law just to help me, and I'll give you a pardon, a get out of jail free card afterward. So I think that's the first thing. And then there could be any number of legal ramifications as well. There are already lawsuits to try and stop Trump from, you know, building his wall on his own without authorization from Congress. And stories like yesterday, I think, will give fuel to that, to those lawsuits, and indeed maybe the subject of live testimony in these cases.
And Neil, let me shift gears for a moment and get your thoughts on something else Trump has talked about, in specific immigration recently. That is the topic of birthright citizenship. Watch this.
Are you going to do an executive order on birthright citizenship still?
We're looking at that very seriously, birthright citizenship, where you have a baby on our land, you walk over the border, have a baby. Congratulations, the baby is now a U.S. citizen. We're looking at it very, very seriously. We are looking at birthright citizenship very seriously. It's frankly ridiculous.
Does the president, Neil, have any right to do anything through executive action or executive order on the topic of birthright citizenship?
Zero, none. Trump only talks about this when his poll numbers are going down and when he's scared. And then he resuscitates it. He did it last year. He's done it in the last week. Nobody, any serious constitutional scholar, thinks there's any ability to do this. And it's because of a very simple thing. The language of the 14th Amendment, right after the Civil War, done precisely to overturn prior rules that said that you could deny citizenship to people. You know, if you're born in America, you are a citizen. That is the plain plain text of the Constitution, and it's striking to me that conservatives who claim fidelity to the plain text of the Constitution ignore it here. I mean, it is as clear as day, and I mean, honestly, my left shoe could walk into court and bring that lawsuit against the executive order and win. You know, it requires literally nothing except to just the words, read the text of the 14th Amendment, read the Supreme Court case in 1896, Wong Kim Mark.
All right, so let me get your thoughts on one last thing. That is Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She made her first public appearance this week since getting treated for cancer. Here's what a part of what she had to say. Watch.
It was beyond my wildest imagination that I would one day become the notorious RBG.
Your reaction to that, Neil, that she is joking, RBG joking there about being notorious?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, there are some women, and older women, like my mom is one, and Justice Ginsburg another, who are tough as nails, and nothing stops them. They take a licking and they keep on ticking. And, you know, I read a bunch of stuff this weekend about Justice Ginsburg's cancer scare. I mean, there's no one who's tougher and who's going to be around, I mean, who can fight this more than her. So, you know, she has been one of the most momentous justices to ever serve on the court. Just from joining the court right away, she authored the VMI opinion, which eliminated the single-sex Virginia Military Institute, and so many other things that she has done. And so I look forward to seeing her on the bench this fall, and her giving me and all the other advocates a really hard time, because she is fabulous at that.
I think a lot of people would echo your sentiments. Neil Katyal, always a pleasure. Thank you very much. Of course, you can go to msnbc.com/opening arguments for videos of all of the Beat segments with Neil and his expert analysis.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.